Let's look at the richest family in the world, the Rothschilds. If you're new to the channel and you want to see the luxurious life that the 1% live in, subscribe and click the bell. That way, you never miss a video. Make sure you stay until the very end, where we'll show you some of the amazing possessions the Rothschilds own today. When it comes to being rich, some people just do it better than others. You could have $1 million in the bank and think you were rich. Or you could have $10 million in the bank and think you were really rich. And yeah, I would agree. But what would you think if you had $400 billion? I can't even begin to imagine what that would be like. But for the Rothschild family, that's the reality they live in. One of them married Nikki Hilton, Paris's sister. Another is an environmental activist in Santa Monica, California, who crossed the Pacific Ocean in plastiki, a craft made of recycled plastic bottles. But these aren't the kind of things that get you to the point that you have $400 billion in the bank. So how did they get there? The basic outline of the Rothschild story has been told in several best-selling books, a 1934 movie, and a hit Broadway musical. Mayer Amschel Rothschild, born in 1744, was a dealer in coins and a moneylender in the Frankfurt ghetto, whose house was near a red shield, which in German at the time translated to Rothschild. At the beginning of the 19th century, he dispatched his 5 sons to set up banks in Frankfurt, London, Paris, Vienna, and Naples, creating a unique international network for managing and moving vast sums of money. The 5 houses worked together and prospered as they raised money for the industrialization of Europe, financing railroads, mining companies, and factories. They provided the cash for the British purchase of the Suez Canal and financed the Napoleonic and Austro-Persian Wars. The Rothschilds also were bankers to the Tsars and raised the $2.6 million Brazil needed to pay for its liberation from Portugal. Think of a historical event that happened during the 19th century, and we can bet the Rothschild family were involved in some way. No one had power across multiple European nations like they did. The way the family built its empire in multiple countries meant it was perfectly poised to take financial control of much of Europe at the time. And where there is money, there is power. During the late 1800s, the Rothschilds were the most powerful family in the world. They built fabulous houses and amassed the largest private art collection in the world. WADDESDON Mansion, one of some 4 dozen mansions owned by the family, sat on 6,000 acres. The Langu estate outside Vienna was nearly the size of Manhattan and sold for $112.35 million in 2018. They acquired leading vineyards and bred racehorses. The French Rothschilds built an industrial empire that included steel plants and railroads. By the turn of the century, though, the family had grown. Their wealth was in decline and split between a much larger number of descendants than the original 5 children and Mayer Rothschild. It is impossible to try and put a number on their wealth around the end of the 19th century, but a lot of it was kept in the banks that they ran across Europe. The 20th century, however, wasn't kind to the Rothschilds. The Naples and Frankfurt branches became effectively extinct when their last patriarchs produced no male heirs. A more sinister fate befell the branches in Vienna and Paris, though, who had the vast majority of their wealth confiscated in the course of the Second World War. Only the branch in London survived intact, and today it is still a powerful force in Britain. Today the family is still unbelievably rich. Their net worth at the moment is estimated to be around $400 billion. That is roughly 1.5 times more money than is owned by the richest person in the world, Elon Musk. Rumors that they own half of the money in the world are kind of understandable when you think that $400 billion is just a small fraction of what the family was worth 100 years ago. But it isn't just theories about how much money they own that have sprouted over the years. Conspiracy theories concerning the Rothschild family date back to the 18th century. And the family's wealth was largely responsible for the anti-Semitic belief that Jews control the world's money supply. The Rothschilds are frequently associated with theories about the Illuminati, the New World Order, and other dark money groups that supposedly pull the strings of world governments. And the Rothschilds have been blamed for everything from starting wars for personal gain, to funding the Holocaust, to assassinating US presidents. All or none of these theories could be true. The immense wealth and power of the family means that nothing can be ruled out, but just in case they're listening, let's just say that none of these theories are true. While the family may have once owned the biggest banking empire in the world, their biggest asset now is a little more modest. The Rothschild Group is the family's biggest earner now. The company covers investment banking, wealth management, and merchant banking. And in 2021, it made $830.81 million in profit. Not bad for a little family business. While that is where most of their obvious money comes from, there is much more wealth tied up in their assets, specifically in real estate. The Rothschild family has over 1,800 real estate properties spread across England, France, Germany, and other European countries. The combined value of all these properties is over $36 billion. In 2021, one of the Rothschild mansions was put on the housing market for $110.8 million. At the time, this was the most expensive residential property in history. Built entirely out of marble, the 9,000 square foot property is located at Kensington Palace Gardens in London. The property also features an underground parking garage that can fit 20 cars. This isn't the only ridiculous property that the Rothschilds own, though. WADDESDON Mansion has to be one of the jewels in their current real estate crown. The mansion has some incredible underground wine cellars, which hold over 15,000 bottles of wine, and is currently the largest collection of Rothschild's wine in the world. A number of 18th century portraits as well as tapestries and furniture adorn the home, and there are large gardens with a cast iron aviary that is filled with exotic birds and endangered species. When you own $36 billion worth of real estate, what are you supposed to fill it all with? As you can probably guess, it's priceless antiques and artworks. A recent sale at Sotheby's in London included over 52 lots of furniture, paintings, and works of art collected by members of the Rothschild family. These included a pair of late Louis XV period marble-topped steel and ormolu consoles worth £2 million, and a Louis XV commode worth £1.5 million. A mechanical minute dial by Julian Leroy sold for £2.02 million, and a Venetian casket, once owned by Baron Gustave de Rothschild, sold for close to £608,000. It isn't just their furniture that is expensive, though. Remember that wine cellar with 15,000 bottles in it? Well, that is just the tip of the iceberg. The Rothschild family has been in the winemaking industry for 160 years. Today, the family owns many wine estates in France, Italy, South America, South Africa, and Australia. They are also the official supplier of wine for the Vatican Church, for which they do not charge any fee and provide the wine for free of cost. The family controls over 70% of total wine sold in Europe through direct and indirect means, earning them over $16 billion a year. It isn't just wine that they give to the Vatican, though. They give vast amounts of money as well. Despite being a historically Jewish family, the Rothschilds have donated a whopping $5 billion to the Vatican Church and have also sponsored the personal trips of Pope Francis. Why do they donate all that money? Well, your guess is as good as ours, but I bet there are some conspiracy theorists who will let you know in the comments below. Before we tell you about some of their most insane possessions, make sure that you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe and click the bell. That way, you'll be the first to see our next luxury video. When you're as rich as the Rothschilds, you can afford the best cars in the world, and that is exactly what Victor Rothschild did in 1936. Only 4 Bugatti Type 57 SC Atlantic cars were ever built. The car was sold in 1971 for around $59,000, a record price for a car at the time, and later sold again in 2010 for $40 million, making it one of the most expensive cars in history. Owned by Victor Rothschild, who later became 3rd Baron Rothschild, the 1932 Bugatti Type 55 Super Sport Roadster is today worth close to $7,100,000. Described as one of the true icons of automobile design, the car is beyond beautiful and was an inspiration for car designers for decades after it was first made. Of course, it isn't just cars that the family has chosen to spend their money on, it's boats as well. Costing $102 million, Planet 9 Yacht has its own beach club, spa, helipad, and below-deck hangar and refueling facility. Owned by British-born financier Nathaniel Rothschild, this massive yacht features a private area of over 300 square meters, divided into two distinct areas for the owner. Interior features include a 119-inch cinema screen, panoramic observatory lounge, 2 elevators, and several elegant and contemporary relaxation areas offering great privacy. And where there are boats and automobiles, there of course has to be planes. We're sure by now that you understand that the Rothschilds want nothing but the best, and that carries on to their planes as well. Nathaniel Rothschild is the proud owner of a $62.31 million Bombardier Global 6000 private jet. Holding up to 17 passengers and flying up to 6,900 miles, the plane has a top speed of 950 kilometers per hour. Everything can be done on Rothschild's private jet, from conducting business meetings to sleeping, and he has access to Ka-band internet technology, keeping him connected throughout the entire journey. Advanced soundproofing materials on the jet allow for a comfortable night's sleep, and you can connect a range of devices within the aircraft, which include the latest game consoles and streaming services. Of course, the richest family in the world would own some of the most expensive items available to buy, but which of those listed would you want to own? Click the video on the screen to see another luxury video.